Wake up, Vicky. Won't stay. Come back up. Okie dokie. Any questions left over from before lunch?
You just look silly when you do that. Eyebrows and facial expressions don't compute with me. So I just do you look silly when you do it. Oh.
Okay. So, let's have a look at page 5. Section 4, page 5. So the format system created by Bernice McCarthy is what you have here. Bernice McCarthy based her model, the format system, on the work of Kolb, K-O-L-B, who was a professor and an educational psychologist, I believe. He was a professor of learning. So he was, very interested in how people learned, how children in particular got their learning. So the format system is how I create all my leaflets, how I design my website, how I decide whatever I'm going to talk about. So it enables me to be set to go without any planning or anything. So as you can see, you've got these percentages. The percentages refer to the size of the population. So 35% of the population are why types, 25% are what ifs, 18% are coaching types, and 22% are the what type, or information junkies or geeks. So if you teach to all 4 quadrants, you will teach to everyone in your audience. If you address all of these quadrants in your teaching, your presentation, your workshop, you will reach everyone in your audience. Although sometimes when I give out feedback forms, occasionally I'll get back feedback saying need more exercises, and you know that they're a how type. So I might have done loads of exercises, and I think you get a good balance of exercises and theory. But you know, if someone's very high on the how scale, if there was a how scale, then they always want more. Now, each presentation, talk, seminar wants to begin with a little what, meaning what you're going to talk about. So that can be as simple as the name of my talk is Ethel Merman's life history. Could be as simple as that. And then you want to go into why that would be interesting. And particularly if you've got a new audience, new people, you need to get through the whys before you move on to the what. So if I'm with a new group, I will spend quite a bit of time making sure that I have given enough reason, built up enough relevance and need in the audience to know it's okay to move on. So for me, that will generally take anything from 3 minutes, 10 minutes, to, at its worst, on one occasion, took me till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon with one particular group of people. But I will just stay with the why until they are all on board, because otherwise they will keep returning to, well, why are we learning this? Well, why is this useful? Which is fair enough. And if you notice, it is 35% of the population. So it will always be the largest group of people in the room. You'll always have more whys than hows, for instance. So addressing the why is, in a certain sense, more important than addressing the how. And if you've got both, you're on a good track. Now, how I might create reason is by use of the yes set. So hands up, who's interested in NLP? Raise your hands if you're interested. Yep, so I'm looking for responsiveness. So I need to ask for it. So I need to make it clear with my words. Raise your hand, telling people what the action is to do, and raise my hand and raise my eyebrows, because that works as well. That's what I actually do. I say, raise your hand, and it helps model what they are to do. But that's not enough. That means you've got compliance, but it doesn't mean you'll have satisfied the why in them. So the why needs to be reasons. So, you know, I will perhaps talk about, in teaching a segment, I'll say, well, this technique is really good for anxiety. This technique works with changing emotional states. And also explain what can happen if you don't learn it. Now, if you ever have or do listen to Anthony Robbins, he does this very clearly. At the end of every teaching segment, he goes back to positive consequences and negative consequences. So he says, okay, so I've taught you this stuff. If you apply this, you'll have a marvelous life. If you take these techniques, put them into practice 3 times a day, your self-esteem will grow. So he'll give a number of examples of how to do what he's just taught what will be the benefits? And then it's say, well, what will happen if you don't? You say, and if you don't apply it, your life will carry on the same it is. If you want to suffer, that's up to you. So he will attach negative consequences. And that can be part of your why here. Because you could say, well, why is understanding nutrition useful? Because everyone is out to fool you. Everyone is out to sell you something in the world of nutrition. It is one of the biggest billion-dollar making tricks in the world. So one of the biggest ways of making money is by selling health, even when they're not selling you health, but they pretend to, and they do it through packaging, making writing so small you can't read it, that's relevant, and things like that. So you just give lots of reasons why. And what can happen if you don't? Because if you don't follow your nutrition, you're either going to end up very, very unhealthy, open to illness, or just plain dead at a young age. So yeah, why is very important. So it doesn't have to be, so if you took this as, if I did this as an hour segment, my why section could be 10 minutes. Then my what section, I would say, would be about 20 minutes. Then I need to give a good 20 minutes for an exercise. So people working in groups of 2, groups of 3, particularly in the world of NLP, you'll almost never give an exercise that lasts more than 15 minutes. It's only well-formed outcome questions that will really go beyond that. Can't think of much else that might go beyond that. Some trance stuff. So, yeah. Then you're left with about 10 minutes for questions, which is fine. Dependent on the size of the audience, because you don't have to answer all the questions at that time. As long as you have a section for questions, people will be happy. If you say, look, sorry, I'm out of time, I've got to go, people will be gutted who like questions. People who are into questions, if they leave, or you leave, without them having a chance to ask questions, they say, oh, well, there was just no time, and I really wanted to ask this, and I wanted to ask that. That can work for you if you want to create scarcity and sell yourself, as in they might then hunt you down to ask you questions, and you've got more opportunities of selling products or selling your services. But it'll, in a workshop situation, be much better if you've got the time built in. You take the majority of the questions so that questions just haven't overtaken everything as well. Because there will be a certain point where the people who are the other 75% of the room will be fed up with the questions. So 75% of the people in the room, when they're hearing the questions, they'll be going, Oh, do we need to know that? Oh, they just want attention, or things like that will be going through their mind. So that is good to think about, that, yeah, whilst you're answering questions, 75% of the room probably are not really interested. The advantage of that is, though, that they will probably begin to trance out. So in delivering your answers to the questions of the 25% who are engaged, you can build in lots of suggestions, metaphors, analogies for the rest of the people in the room. There's said to be some correlation between the Virginia Satir categories and the format system, but it's kind of anecdotal, as in the leveler would not be on here, for one thing, and the information would be related to computer. Blamer would normally be about, sorry, no, placate, sorry, did I say placator? I've lost my mind.
You said computer.
Yep, computer for what? Yep, and why will often be placator. How is blamer and distractor is often what if, because the what ifs can be so far off tangent that they can be a distraction. But there's no, you know, real value or worth in that. It's just a bit of curious what that I'm giving you there. So yeah, why people need reasons. They need interaction, but as witnesses and motivation. That means you don't really want to enter into a discussion in the first 10 minutes, because you need to be showing reasons why. So if you've got slides, stuff in the PowerPoint, that's useful in presenting your why. But I don't want to start a dialogue in the first 10 minutes, because once you start with a dialogue, you can have dialogue throughout, which is all right if you want to have that kind of seminar or talk. But mostly, in giving a talk, you are there to talk. And, you know, if you're being paid to talk, then really you do want to fulfill your obligation to be there as the expert and to talk. So if you enter into questions too early, that can then set the groove, set the scene. So I actually mostly will ignore stuff that's said in the first 10 minutes. If it's important, it'll come up again. If it isn't, it's just distraction, or someone who thinks they should be up there speaking and not you.
Can you breathe from that? they'll have a question time at the end, which based on some of the questions exactly good.
Yeah, that is one way of handling a number of questions at the start. You can say, okay, excellent questions with comeback questions. There will be a slot for that. So again, like I'm doing one hand, which is half a leveler. You're better off doing, we'll have questions at the end. That'll silence mostly then what's going on, because you're stating it firmly, laying the ground rules. Then moving into what, so this is your content. This is your information. And notice actually only 22% of people are actually interested in that. So if you're going to a particular audience where you know that's unusual noise, someone's smacking their lips. Can't do it. And yeah, if you know you're going to a particular audience, say a group of scientists, what do you think they're mostly going to be interested in? Pardon? What's, yeah, mostly going to be what? Yeah. Similarly, a bunch of accountants. They're mostly going to be interested in what? If they're proper accountants, not just doing it for the money. So then you need to just think about giving a little bit more information. And one way of giving information actually is to just give handouts or a big fat manual. Because if you give them a big fat manual, the what people go, oh wow, brilliant. This is going to be great training. Because they feel the weight of it, they see the thickness of it, and they're like, oh yeah, it's brilliant. So yeah, if you give just a few pages, say 3 pages for a day training, the what people would be like, was that it? God, is this all I've paid for? God, you know. So you want to average around 20, 30 pages for a day training. If you're thinking about satisfying the what people, because they need to feel the material. So you want to, I know it's bad for trees, but if you want to follow it through, you need to print it single-sided as well. That also helps in general presentation. And do you know if you have your manual open, so you've obviously got a left side and a right side. If that was a newspaper, bless you, where would be the best place to put your ad? Yeah, top right. Research says. Yeah, that's it exactly. So it's much easier for most people to read what is on that side of the manual. It immediately draws the eye and is in accord with the workings of most brains. I said most, you know. Yeah, so then coaching, facilitating, really you're best off with an exercise where you are present so that they can get a tangible experience. So you can get really creative about what the exercise is. And yeah, sometimes the exercise can make or break a training. Sometimes when you give people an exercise to do, that'll be what they remember from the training. I can remember doing this thing about the brain and perception, and the exercise was to lie down on the ground and then someone put a jacket over your head, so you was looking up through a sleeve, and then they was like dropping items down the sleeve that you had to then sense what they were, and it was fascinating what would actually happen, especially with lemon juice. Yeah, but I just remember thinking, oh, that's a really clever thing to have done. And, you know, this was well over 25 years ago. And the exercise really sticks in my mind. I've no idea what the rest of it was about, but the exercise really stuck in my mind. But that show, you know, that's just demonstration of the potential. Like on my feedback forms, like sometimes I'll get my favourite part of the training was when we did parts integration and I felt all this emotion, or my favourite thing was when I did release of negative emotions and I had all that anger. So, you know, often what stays in someone's mind is a particular exercise during the training. Over 10 months, that's what their mind focuses on. And although you could say, well, it's only 80% of the people, is it that important? If you're doing a transformational training, by presenting to all four of these quadrants, you are enabling people to transform their way of learning and their way of thinking, and enable to transform their perceptions. And I think it's one of the strengths in NLP that has helped me to become a better thinker, more intelligent, and other stuff. And the house section is also an opportunity for you to interact with students doing exercises. So I judge whether to just keep the hell away or whether to actually go up to someone and say, and I'll get down to the same level as them if they're seated, you know, I'll make sure that I'm then speaking to them at the same level. Because if you're above someone just talking down on them, you know, imagine how children feel. They keep having adults sort of towering up above them. You probably do it with dogs, so to speak. I mean, yeah, but I would never say that. So you probably put your head down by the dog's head No?
Yeah.
Well, for certain things.
Yeah, if I've got a dog that's a bit sensitive, a bit worried about something, I will come down to
Yeah,
that level.
exactly. And that is it. You know, you can then avoid with people, if you're above them, it can fire off things about authority, power. So I don't know, sorry, I didn't know if you heard what Jenny's reply was when I said what happens when she puts her head down by the dog's head.
No, we didn't hear. No.
Okay, would you like to hear?
Please.
Okay, well, she said that she would do that when a dog is perhaps a bit sensitive, worried, or anxious. I think that's right.
Yeah, you have to be anxious and encourage that state of mind. So, and what more time yeah, depending on what I'm trying to get across. If I want to be welcoming, and less dominant in that moment, then yeah, I get down.
That's something I'm thinking about nursing, because I'm training nurses. And a lot of time when you're in a hospital bed, and the nurse comes up to do things or say something to you, they're always above, you know. They're always, because you're in the bed, they don't come and sit on the chair next to you, but if they did, it might change that interaction.
I could sit on the bed with you.
Well, there's normally a chair on the bed, isn't there?
Not last thing,
No, they're not nice on bed.
That's why I said it.
Yeah.
Just me.
I mean, imagine nurses being told that they see the sitting as somebody rather than being a group. So,
Maybe a question I could pose.
yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, coaching, yeah, you just need to judge the amount of interaction you give. Because really, the how time is for the person to try it out, as in putting on a set of clothing and seeing if it fits rather than trying. So, yeah, you want to find that balance of being there to instruct them, but also just being there as a resource. And then the what if section, which I've touched on, is really an opportunity for the it's an opportunity for them to teach themselves. But it's also an opportunity for you to teach others in answering the question. In one sense, the answer to most questions is going to be yes, as well, as you've discovered. But that is when I'm confronted with, well, is it this or is it that? Because nothing is ever completely wrong, just as nothing is ever completely right. So when presented with this or that, well, how come one or the other actually be wrong? But generally, it's a healthy segment of the training. Okay, any other questions? Or any questions about the format system? So I used this to design my website. So one way of satisfying the why or approaching the why is through a question. So when I had as a leaflet, so I only ever had one lot of leaflets and printed 10,000, and when I checked how many people had actually come to me because of the leaflet, it was less than 100 people, so didn't bother with that again. So on the leaflet I did put why, like a question. Why choose NLP or hypnotherapy? But I didn't answer that. Not on the front of the leaflet, there would just be a question poised. So a lot of advertisers and marketers just use this element. They just poise a just give you a question. Yeah, pose, not poise. Yeah, not poise. It's my buggy brain. So your question, bless you, your question could even be a negative question. I saw it in London Underground. There was this. Why? The question was just simply, why not pop along today to such and such? So it's a hypnotic command they're sneaking in, because the why opens the mind, you can say. That's another reason for starting with the why, because you could say, well, why not have the why somewhere else? The reason you start with the why is to open up the mind. And so another tip with opening the mind is you want it to stay open. So I will poise questions. I'll poise questions and see what reaction I get. Yeah, and I will do my best to answer most of those questions, but maybe one I will leave open, so the mind will stay open. So that's another aspect of why, and that's why it's good in advertising. So I think I've forgotten what it says on my website now, but I think it says something like, I'm interested in transforming the planet. What are you interested in? Something like that. So again, just poses a question. What was it, poise? I don't want to poison your thinking. But you'll find the right repose. Or retort. Or is it poise?
You can pause for a minute and think about it.
Yeah. Oh, anyway.
We could pose while she poses. Or you think about posing the questions.
I think you'll have a petty voice. But that's just a little
I'm just taking the pee now. Ooh.
I'm distracted again.
Yeah, so a question can be implied even by just using a question mark. There's again a bit of advertising I saw in London, and there was a whole load of, there was a list of things, and all they'd done was put a subliminal question mark. So you could hardly see the actual question mark, just as you can hardly see that one because of the colour. But they reckon in advertising that that will still have an effect. It will still open the mind up because of the symbolism of a question mark in a poster. So it's just things to think about, like what you can do with why, and why wouldn't you? Yes, so in design in my website, I have my question posed, and then I immediately go into what it is I do. And then I tell people how to do it. And then I have questions. So I just follow the whole format in that way. So you could do it with your why. Why would someone want? Why do you need therapy? And go through that, and then you'd say what it is you do, and that can be a list as well. So the what hasn't got to be loads of detail, you know, it's information. So you could then have a list of I treat, and then give a long list of things you treat. That could then be your what. And then how could be, so you want help with the above, call this number now. And then have frequently asked questions. And then you've got your what if taken care of. So yeah, this has changed my life in many ways. You know, I learned this first in 1998, 1999, and I still make use of it now. It is a very good system. So I'm not suggesting you would apply it to your modelling presentations, but you could if you wanted to, if you wanted to structure them. Because this is the thing, this just gives you a structure, and it's a structure that works, it's a structure that's in line with how the mind works, and it's a structure that can transform how the mind works as well. So what better reason for using it? Okay, any other questions about presenting in general? Or if not in general, just some major things you want to know. Because I'm not going to tell you in private. So I wouldn't want to be militant about my beliefs. No, good. All right. So let's finish today. You have homework, I'm afraid. Huh?
Okay.
Your homework is to. We're going to do one lot of presentations. Yeah, like we've been doing. They're going to be a bit longer, so 5 minutes each. A presentation topic of your choice, and I want to have a integration into that 5 minute topic of choice. At least 3 satire categories, and the format system. Yep.
You know, modern tradition.
Yeah.
Doing that tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's a lot to put into hours.
Really? Well, 5 minutes each with feedback. Won't take long, hour and a half. And then modelling projects, you've only got 15 minutes. So, yeah, I was going to have a go around my neck, but maybe I won't. Around the neck? Huh? Oh, well, yes, tomorrow.
No, I didn't think we were done with section 4. I thought when we were looking at it, we had to have all this sort of attached to something.
Wow.
Kind of like.
We wouldn't have done all of the strategies because a lot of them are examples of strategies.
Okay.
So with a lot of the strategies, it's assumed that you know enough to look at them, and things like a selling strategy or business, you could just put it into practice.
Okay, so that's okay.
Unless I'm missing something.
No, obviously,
Yeah, excuse me. Oh, you got me thinking now. Have I missed anything?
I mean, you're telling me more, but I thought you said in section 4 but maybe not.
Yeah, section 6. There's strategies.
Which is we were talking about the world. So that was just to read rather than to be taught.
Yeah. Right. The level of strategies that you need, you have. The rest of it is in my opinion, overly cumbersome. And if you really want to get into modelling, then yes, it's the way to go. But none of you have expressed an interest in that, as in the future, where you want to go. Or am I wrong? Well, I'm thinking more about the outcomes that you mentioned at the start of the course that you had.
I mean, presumably you don't do one modelling all the time.
Don't do any modelling with clients. You know, it's a useful skill. You can find out a lot of useful stuff, but no, I wouldn't. There's nothing my clients do that I would actually want to take on myself.
No, and I didn't mean want to take something off your client. A client, you wouldn't be helping your client model, like if they wanted to be a boxer or something, you wouldn't be looking at the boxer modeling what they do and then helping them take that model.
Well, yes, I do that. Yeah.
But we have the skills to do that. Not what we
Well, really, you need to be able to hit a punch bag and understand it yourself, because.
That's an example. That's not.
Oh.
I can't think of something. I was speaking to RTM, so quite on that. But I was trying to example as to why someone might come to as a client and say, I want to be pianist then, play piano. I don't want to play piano any other way. I want to be the top. It'd be like this person in the orchestra. Would be helping them. I don't know. I'm trying to think when do I possibly use modeling is my question.
Well, the only time you'd want to use modeling is if you want to really teach a particular thing. So NLP is the best example of modeling. Richard Bandler modeled Virginia Satir, Fritz Perls, created a model that he then sold and has continued to sell for 40 odd years.
What was the question Tina was asking?
What was the question?
Yeah.
I can't remember now. Good question.
In section 6, there's a section on modelling that I asked, were we supposed to learn something from that, or was it just a section for us to read? And the response you gave was, in our outcome goals, none was mentioned where we would need to go into more depth than we have done for modelling. Which I'm happy to set as the answer, if that's what one feels.
Well, I didn't think that was the question.
What was the question then?
I thought you said there's a whole, isn't there stuff missing that I haven't covered?
Yes, that's what I said.
Yeah.
There's stuff in here that I don't think we've covered. And you said, because we don't need to do it, because you find it cumbersome.
Well, no, that's not all I said. I said the reason not covering some of it is because you can just read it. Things like, although I can't find any now. Like things like spelling strategies. You can read that and apply it. There's not much I could add into any of that, which I think would be useful.
No, that's fine. And I said that's the answer, but that's what I asked.
Yeah, so those are all examples of strategies. Yeah.
But there's several else, but that's fine.
And as far as I take it with a client, like I wouldn't do modelling, but I might find out their strategy for doing something, like the strategy for depression. Yeah.
And I understand that.
And the ways you've got of doing that are the logical levels of therapy, where you could say, teach me how to do it, and then do the opposite. For one thing. Yeah. So yeah, have a think overnight. If there is anything in this manual that you would like to go over, your exercise, which should take you 10 minutes as homework. Huh? Do what? Your homework is to come up with your presentation. Well, let's. Well, if you're spending more than 10 minutes, you're over preparing. So, I don't know if I completed my sentence now. My brain is fading away. Well, it's faded away this morning. Yes, the homework is take as much time as you want to prepare to give a, I can't remember how long I said in it, 5-minute presentation. Yes. Yeah. Yep, free. Yep, and still include KAV sequence, peripheral vision, and this time I'd like you to be prepared to take questions.
Okay. So can it be the same topic then? I thought you said do a different topic. Imagine the same as fine. Okay. Oh, then I just improve it. That's fine. I'll do that. That may only take me.
Take as long as you like. Oh, yeah. Okay, right. Take care. Enjoy your evenings, nights, whatever. And yeah.
With the modelling,
Bye. Bye, then, Vicky. Bye-bye. Cheers.
can I ask a question? I don't think
Yeah.
you can hear me.
Yeah.
For the modelling, do we need, are we teaching everyone? Do we need a prop for what they're teaching us, or does it not work like that?
Say it again, because the floorboards actually creak a lot. So I've just had loud creaking. So go again. Go again the question, please.
For the modelling,
Yeah.
do we need props that they're teaching? Like, do we need it? Are we all learning the same? If that makes sense.
Actually, yeah, your voice is going in and out a little bit, so I didn't hear it again. Sorry.
Oh, no.
That was what I obviously couldn't hear in the first place. Go on, carry on.
So, do we need props for tomorrow? As in, do we need to get a hula hoop?
You don't all need a hula hoop.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we need one here.
Well, you only need a prop if it's involved in what you're going to teach. Like if you was going to teach baton tossing, then we'd have to have a baton ourselves. So what is it you're going to teach?
I'm doing like a card.
Doing what?
A card shuffle.
Okay. So we'd need a pack of cards.
Yeah.
Oh dear. The only one I've got has got naked women on.
I could.
Well,
I'll
I don't know the answers, but
what was that? Sorry?
I don't know if anyone will object to me using cards with naked women on. I didn't get them on bio. I just would like to make that clear. Someone gave them to me.
Oh, they'll be fine.
Well, I better have another look at them. I can't remember what the okay, so in theory we need a pack of cards. Anything else needed?
No.
No. All right. Well, to be on the safe side, I'll put something on Facebook then, because.
Do we need a hula hoop?
Well, you won't unless you've got one, if that makes sense. No, that's a terrible way of putting a question. Sorry, my brain is. I'm just really not well. Yeah, yes, if you want to join in, you would need a hula hoop. But the idea would be that in what is taught, hopefully the next time you're near a hula hoop, you could put it into practice.
Okay.
Because the idea would be, if the strategy is taught to you correctly, you would then be able to write it down and go off and use that strategy anytime, anywhere.
Okay.
Because if the strategy really is step-by-step instructions, it's like I said about the stuff in the manual. You know, the stuff in the manual is written in the strategy section. The strategies that are there as examples, you can just use them and you will get results with them. So with the modelling strategy that's being presented, if it's a good modelling strategy, anyone should be able to pretty much pick it up. Particularly having it demonstrated. It's not like everyone here tomorrow is going to be hula hooping. All that's going to happen is Katina's going to teach and demonstrate hula hooping, and then one person will hula hoop who she instructs and talks through the demo.
Okay.
So yeah, you can either then demonstrate your modelling project with Vicky, or you can teach it to someone here. The same with Vicky.
Okay.
Vicky can either just teach you, or, and I think it'd be nice to teach someone here, whatever it is. Just one person though. Unless it is something that the whole group could do. You know, say if it was one-legged dancing or something, I don't know.
They can probably do that. I could get, if I'll message people that we do, they can all bring cards and we can do a group shuffle.
Yeah. So, because my attention spans faded. So cards, and was there anything else?
No.
No, okay, good. Right. Does that help then?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
feel better.
Yeah, me too. I feel really weird. It's like almost kind of being drunk. Yeah, really dizzy and woozy head. But yeah. Huh?
It just started today.
Oh no, it started last night, but I just thought it would, yeah, either pass or, yeah. It's not really got any worse, but I don't think, hopefully it won't get any, yeah, any worse.
Have a good rest.
I will. I can't wait to go and lie down.
Have you heard from them?
No, I wondered whether I would, but when did she come over?
They would have got the 10th, I think.
The 10th? Oh, okay.
Yeah. But for 5 weeks, I think, but at my auntie's at the minute.
Uh-huh.
So I think they'll be heading up to see my nan, so
All right.
she'll let you know.
Well, yeah, I've certainly not had any phone calls, and I don't think I've seen any emails.
Yeah. I've only had 1 or 2 messages.
Well, see what happens.
Yeah. I think Mum was more upset about it than she was us. So.
Upset about what?
Leaving the dog.
Oh. Oh dear.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
See you
thanks,
tomorrow then.
Rosemary.
You're welcome.
Have a good
Take
rest.
care. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.